What's up, YouTube? Today I'm going to show you how to replace the high pressure fuel pump on your R56 Mini Cooper S. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and stick around. You're going to want to watch this whole video. Okay, first thing, you're going to want to let your car sit for a few hours. Mine's been sitting overnight, so I shouldn't have too much spray when I unhook the fuel lines. But first step, you're going to remove your intake system. If you have a catch can, unbolt it. You probably won't have to do that, but you're going to remove this whole system, and I'll show you how to do that right now. Okay, you're gonna need to remove this clip. You just pull this little thing back right here, and that should pop right up, come off. And then there's this screw right here. Just put a flathead in there, flathead screwdriver, or standard, whatever you want to call it. Just go ahead and loosen that. Next, you're going to want to take this clip off. Same thing. You can already press in right here. Just pull it out. And that comes right off. It's this little tab. It's right here on the top. You just press down on that, and this will pull straight out. Now there's this hose right here. If you don't have a catch can, your hose is just going to connect right here. But either way, you have to take this off. There's a little tab right here on the bottom. You're going to press in with your screwdriver while trying to simultaneously lift up on it. And once you get it to clear, it usually comes off pretty easy. I don't know why I'm having trouble today. There we go. Comes off like that. You just press these in. There's one on both sides. And when you press those in, this slides straight up. Once that's removed, you're just going to take the hose and you're just going to slide it straight out. And that's off. Oh, and while you're there, you don't have to remove this, but it's easier. There's this little button you can press right here, it's a little tab. You just press that in with your thumb and pull straight out, and that comes off. Just makes it easier to remove this once we get this removed. Just to make it easier so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to remove this. You probably won't have to remove your PCV hose, but if you do, there's two little tabs on the side. You just press in on those, and it just pulls out. I'm just removing it so that you can see what I'm doing. Push that out of my way. And with that out of the way, you can see right here, see that little Torx bit, or Torx screw? It's a T25. You're just going to go ahead and loosen that. It's not going to come all the way out, but go ahead and loosen it. You're just going to back that out until it comes about right there. Let's see, it pops up now. Like I said, it doesn't need to come all the way out. On the other side of the car, let me move my catch can out of the way, you can see it. There's this hose down here. It's the one that feeds into your air box. You have to disconnect that from your actual air box. I'm going to need to use both hands to do it though. I'll show you how to get that done. Okay, using both hands, well, it makes it easier. Pull this side off the first screw that you took out. Just go ahead and pop the hose off of the turbo. Just like that. Like I said, it's the first one you took off. Okay, since you have that off, now this will move pretty freely. So you're going to reach down and grab that pipe, the one that's right here that comes up into the front of the grill and feeds your intake. You're going to try to hold that in place, maybe even twist it down a little bit, and then pull up on your intake like that, and then you can separate the two. Once they're separated, it should come right out like that. If you really wanted to, you could take this hose all the way out you just pop this off right here. I think you should, or you can actually just pop the hose out of that little clip right there. Either way. And then in the front, right here, there's actually on the inside, see if I can show you. Move my can out of the way here. There's these little things right here that you push in on with the screwdriver. I can probably do it with my hand. And if you do that on both sides, there we go. It just comes out. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and move mine since I already have it out. Go ahead and put my camera down for a second. And once you've popped that out like I showed you, you just fish it through whichever way you can. Here. You see these little tabs right here on both sides. All I did was I pressed in like that. See how it squeezes in? Press in with your hands and pull it straight out. Go ahead and put my coolant reservoir back where it went. Mine doesn't screw on or anything, it's just there. Alright, next, let me grab a 12 millimeter, but you're gonna use a 12 millimeter to remove this bolt right here. Let me get a close-up of that. Fuel pump. This bolt right here, that's the high pressure line. This is the low pressure line. I'm gonna remove the high pressure line first. I'm just gonna use a regular 12 millimeter, but if you have a line wrench, it'd be even better. You're just gonna put it on the bolt, pull it towards, you know, side to loosen it, to be towards me. Actually, I'm gonna put some rags under it. Put some rags under it real quick, and then I'll go ahead and take that off. Okay, so I went ahead and I stuck some shop towels down there, and again, pull that towards you. It's gonna leak a little bit like that. I didn't think it would. Let's go ahead and loosen it. Obviously, don't be smoking any cigarettes while you're doing this or lighting matches. Alright, I won't make you watch me take that whole thing out. Okay, once it comes out, you can see this part will slide back. So now you know that's loose. Now next we'll move on to the low pressure line. Okay, so on YouTube you'll see a whole bunch of different ways to remove this line. See mine's on there? You're gonna turn it to where the screw, you can see the little opening right there on the top. Just take a Phillips screwdriver that'll fit inside there. Press in and pull it off. Comes off that easy. You do not need any special tools. Okay, so now underneath your high pressure fuel pump, there's one more plug-in. It's got two plugs on each side. I'll show you what they look like after I get the plug out, because I can't really get the camera in there to show you as I take the plug off. And it's kind of a pain to get to. This is the plug I'm talking about. Plugs into the bottom of your high pressure fuel pump. And you have to push in on these two tabs. There's one on each side. And then pull down at the same time. What I just found out, this is the first time I've ever done it this way, and it worked really easily. I actually put a flathead screwdriver on either side in these little grooves, small enough to fit. You know, so it was just pressing the tab and not hitting these two sides. And then I was able to push in and push down at the same time, and it came right out. That's the easiest way I've ever found to remove this tab, or this plug. And I'll never have trouble removing this plug again. And this is probably the hardest plug to remove on this whole car. At least it's out of the stuff I've done. Okay, so now you're gonna take a T30. I'll put a link in the description to where you can buy a set of these Torx bits. It'll be at the bottom of the description. There's a spot that says tools that every Mini Cooper owner needs. And this link is in there. And I'll also put a link in the description to where you can get an OEM replacement fuel pump for a very good price from a company called Speed Tech Motorsports. You should definitely check them out. But I'll put a link to their website in the description. But there's 3 of these T30s. So I'm just gonna go ahead and break this one loose. Not gonna take it out. There's one there, and there's one right below it. Let's see if I can find it. Just putting it towards the wrong one there. All right, there's a T30 right here on the bottom. Sorry, I can't get a better shot of this, but I'll show you exactly where they are once I get this pump out. Just gonna go ahead and loosen that one. And then there's one more on the back right here, right above the that plug you just took out and right below the fuel lines. You just go right in there. Go ahead and loosen that. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this one. Probably don't need that anymore. Make sure you have a magnet handy when you do this, so you don't drop your screw when you your Torx bit when you take, or not your Torx bit, but your Torx screw when you take it out. There's actually nothing wrong with my fuel pump. I'm actually just taking mine off and putting it back on just for this video. But like I said, I talked to the guy from Speed Tech Motorsports on Instagram today. Looked at his website. He has it on there. It's probably the cheapest. Actually, it is 100% the cheapest I've ever seen an OEM replacement. A couple $100 cheaper, and I would definitely recommend him. He's a good guy, and he sells good quality parts. But yeah, that's the screw. Set that aside. Just go ahead and loosen all three of those. Or not loosen, but remove all three of those. Also, if you're having any issues, you know, with working on your car, you could check out my Facebook group. It's called Mini Cooper DIY. It's for every single Mini Cooper owner, whether it's a classic Mini Cooper or even, you know, the most modern. We have everything on there. That's the second bolt. But yeah, definitely check that out. It's growing fast. We've gotten over 400 members in the last week. It's very active. It gets, you know, 40 and 50, sometimes as many as 60 posts a day. And people are always on there asking questions. There's people always on there answering questions. It's a good group. I'll link that that group in the description too. But it's called Mini Cooper DIY if you want to search for it. I'm going to grab a longer extension just so I get a better grip. I just added this little small one in the front. It was working before, but it was just kind of hard to turn by hand. There we go. I won't make you watch me take that whole thing out. What was making it so hard is I had my setup above the vacuum lines instead of below it. Once I went below it, it started coming off real easy. Oops, should be coming out now. All right, there's the third one. Let's set that aside. Now from here, you should be able to just pull your fuel pump off. Yep. This comes right out. As you can see, mine's not, mine's aftermarket. I have a brand new one sitting in my cupboard, but this one's from a company that used to be a good company and it no longer is, and I would not recommend it. So I'm just gonna keep using this one, but it works great now. Has a 3-year warranty. When it fails, I'll be buying another one from Speed Tech Motorsports, and I'll keep my spare in the cupboard. Okay, while I have it off, you can see where the 2 or the 3 bolt holes are. That's where they are. It sits on like this. There's 2 right there, and then that one, like I said, it's right above where you plug in right here, and right below this pin, this hole, bam, right there like that. And then you have this, which is gonna plug right into your cam. So I'll go ahead and get that installed now, and I'll show you guys how to do it. Okay, if you look right there, you can see on the end of the intake cam, see if I, let me get a flashlight. You can see how on the intake cam, you can see those grooves, that spot where that goes. That's gonna, you gotta make that line up. So go ahead and take your new pump. Just slide that in there. That. Once it's in there, it'll sit flush up against the head, and then this will line up. The fuel line will line up. I'm not going to hook it up yet, but you can let go of your fuel pump and it won't go anywhere. Now take your T30 that you took these out with, slide it on there, and go ahead and get these things. Actually, I'm going to get it started by hand first, just because I know I can reach in there. There we go. You just want to get each one of them to where it's not going to come out, so that when you go to stick your T30 in there, it doesn't catch on and drop it into your motor. Alright, that one's in. If you want to pull this out of the way, make it a little bit easier, that just slides up out, and then you can take your cam sensor off. I'll do that real quick. You just press this tab down, or lift it up, I mean, and pull out. Then you can pull that out of your way. It doesn't really help that much, but it helps a little bit. Normally I like to get the hardest one started first, but in this instance, I'm getting the 2 easier ones first. That way I know the harder hole is definitely lined up, and I don't have to worry about it, you know, giving me trouble. And that's the one I want now. I just gotta find the screw. Put the last one in, it went on the bottom. And on the last one, I'm gonna have to use the T30 to put it in there because I can't reach. Go underneath the fuel line, grab onto it with my magnet so I don't drop it. Alright, I'm gonna have to use a flashlight so I can see the hole. There we go. It'd be a lot easier if my camera wasn't right where my head needs to go. When you're doing this, you'll be able to just look down from where my camera's at, and you'll be able to see exactly where you need to put the screw. But I just can't, like I said, I can't see because my camera's there. I'm coming from the hard direction, and it's still pretty easy. Doing this while filming is probably only going to take me about 45 minutes to complete the whole job, and that's pretty good considering shop manuals will tell you this job takes 3 hours. It's just not true. That's even, you know, with me rambling, it's still only going to take, you know, 45 minutes. Okay, while I'm right here, I'm gonna go ahead and plug the sensors in before I forget. Try to route them the way that you had them. I'm plugging it in the one underneath the high pressure fuel pump first, because your car definitely won't start if you don't have that plugged in. Make sure it plugs in all the way and it clips. And don't worry, it's not going to be in your way of tightening any bolts. I'm going to go ahead and plug in the cam sensor so I don't forget. I'm going to hook that back up where it went because it wasn't in my way. And I'm going to go ahead and start tightening. I'm going to get them all snug by hand before I torque them down with the wrench. But I'm not going to make you watch me do that. Okay, if you're tightening these down on an n14 engine like I am, you're going to tighten them down to 97 inch-pounds. If you're using a torque wrench, I'm just going to use this. If you're doing it on an n18 engine, you're going to torque them down to 89 inch-pounds. That's what, according to the Bentley service manual, which I will link that in the description as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and tighten them. I've done this job before, obviously. This isn't my OEM pump, and I didn't have any issue. But I would definitely recommend, if you have a torque wrench that does inch-pounds, which I do not, and I live pretty far out in the mountains and I don't want to go to the store and buy one. But if you have one, I would definitely recommend using it. Like I said, I don't remember the numbers I said, but I will write them down and I will put them in the description. Or maybe I'll edit them onto this video when I'm doing the editing. But yeah, go ahead and tighten those down. Okay. Oh yeah. So for the high pressure fuel line, the one that you took off with the 12mm, let me go ahead and line that. I'm going to put that one on first. I'm just going to thread it by hand. Now this one, if you're doing it on an n14 like I am, it's a 3-stage procedure. If you're using a torque wrench, I'm not. I'm just using a regular wrench. Let me get the torque specs for you right now. Okay, your first step, if you're using a torque wrench, and you'd have to use a tool called a crow's foot. It looks like well, it looks like this, but it has a little square right here that you can hook a ratchet to. And you would tighten this to 11 pounds, would be the first step. Okay, the second step, you would do the same thing, and you would tighten it to 24 foot-pounds. Like so. I'm guessing that's 24 foot-pounds, I don't know. And then, you go ahead and hook up your low pressure line, which just slides on. You'll hear it click, like that. Then, once you get your whole car put back together, you're gonna fire it up and warm it up, let it cool back down, take your intake back off, and you're gonna tighten this again to 24 foot-pounds again, just to make sure it didn't come loose. That's on the n14 motor. On the n18, you're just going to tighten it down to 18 foot-pounds one time, and that is it. I misspoke, not 18 foot-pounds. You're going to tighten this to 19 foot-pounds. Not that 1 pound would make much of a difference, but 19 foot-pounds on an n18 motor. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and start putting my car back together here. Set this intake back in. Don't forget, I gotta don't exit this yet, so we still gotta prime the fuel pump. I'm gonna show you how to do that as soon as I get this back together. Which I'm not gonna make you watch this whole putting back together. I'm just gonna pop it back in real quick. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and put my air box back on. Always make sure you get this to connect before you try to screw everything down, or you won't be able to get it to connect. There we go. Go ahead and plug in this sensor right here. Plug in my vacuum line. Plug in my mass airflow sensor. Tighten down my turbo hose. Where it goes. Now I still have, I got my PCV to hook up over here. But actually I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down all the way. But you don't have to, if you didn't take your PCV line off over here, I wouldn't tighten this down yet on your airbox, because you're going to have to take this all back off once you warm your car up. If you're running with the, if you're doing this on an n14. But I'm going to show you how to prime the pump in just a second here. I'm going to go ahead and tighten mine. Won't make you watch. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and connect my PCV line. Now mine's different than yours because on this side, because I have a catch can, but yours is going to be, you're going to take your PCV that's going to be connected right here. Make sure you plug that in. Mine's going the other way. Take your little plastic thing, slide it in there to hold it, and that won't go anywhere. And if you have a catch can, hook it up right now. Alright, once you got your catch can hooked back up, if you have one, or just your intake back how you had it when you started, we'll go to the next step. Okay, from inside the car, take your key fob, put it inside where it goes. Do not press the brake or the clutch, and then go ahead and hit the start button so that you're on the key on, engine off position. I'm gonna wait for this beeping to stop. It'll stop in a second. Then hit the start stop button again. Take your key out, put it back in, same exact thing, no brake, no clutch. Go through it again. That's 3 times. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do that 2 more times. I'm going to do it 5 times total. Alright. Now this last time, I'm just going to go ahead and start the car. Put it in. Your foot on your brake or your clutch, depending on what you have, hit the start button. Like I said, if you have any Mini Cooper at all, check out my Facebook group, Mini Cooper DIY. There's a bunch of members in there, over 1,000 members. It's very active. Put a link to it in the description. I'll put a link to the tools and stuff you need to do this job in the description. I'll put a link to the fuel pump that you need in the description. Speed Tech Motorsports is where you get it. And I'll catch you in the next video.